Commission meeting for February 4th, 2023, by Chaplain Ted Stackpole coming forward and offering us invocation. Thank you for that, and Pledge of Allegiance then led by Commissioner Adams-Ack. Please rise if you can.
Almighty Father, we are grateful for the opportunity to live and work in Putnam County. You bless this county with some of the most beautiful natural resources in our state. However, greater than that, you bless this county with some of the most beautiful and giving generous people in our nation. We're truly blessed by you and now responsible to steward these blessings and resources. So today I ask for your continued wisdom, guidance for our county officials and public servants. We're dependent upon you in this new year to make wise decisions that will lead to the prosperity and success of Putnam County. Be with us today. These commissioners lead us through this agenda. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Chaplain Stackpole and Commissioner Adams-Ack. Yes, sir. Okay, Chair will entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes as on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the commission meeting January 10th, 2023 as in our packet.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Is there any further corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously. We're going to recess the Board of County Commissioners and convene the Port Authority meeting. And the Chair will entertain a motion for the minutes of the Port Authority.
Mr. Chairman, so moved on the minutes of the Port Authority.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the minutes. Is there any further additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously. I'll open the floor now for public comment on Port Authority items. Is there anybody here today that would like to speak on Port Authority issues? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. And is there anything that the commissioners would like to add at this point on Port Authority? Hearing none, I will close or adjourn the Port Authority meeting and reconvene the Board of County Commissioners meeting. And we'll start with presentations. The first one from Ms. Corona, she will come forward.
Good morning.
Morning.
So it's Valentine's Day. Today we're going to show some love to Fred Lanier because he's our employee of the quarter for the first quarter of our fiscal year. Fred helps a lot with just everything on fire rescue. He's one of those people that we can always count on for training and inventory and just anything that's needed. Fred is happy to do it. So congratulations, Fred.
Just about a month ago, we were speaking about Chief Lanier being the employee of the month, and here we are with the employee of the quarter. Chief Lanier is one of the people that we all dream about hiring. The guy that comes to work on time, early, every day, and never complains, always willing to do whatever the job takes for the day. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know what he's going to do when we all retire around him. So, we're so glad he's here, and hopefully we got many, many more years of him. Just doing just the day in and day out grind, and he stays on top of it. I mean, yesterday he was on top of the LVS with the mechanic helping change the air compressor. Just whatever it takes to get the job done, and that's really what we look for in hiring employees. Is just somebody that's just willing to go out there and just get a job done. And Chief Lanier is a prime example of just somebody that just gets after it every single day. So, thank you again, Chief Lanier, for everything you do for us.
Get right in the center, Fred. Congratulations, Fred.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Well. Next on the agenda, we're going to move down to item B under presentations, and I'm going to ask Commissioner Harvey if he will come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and fellow board members. It's my honor and privilege today to talk about a man that, when I was chairman, I wrote a letter of support for a topic, for a designation, basically, something that's earned and not bestowed. And I think that's very important to know that Terry Suggs, our county administrator, would you join me, please? Thank you again for allowing me to do this. Recently received the Credential Manager designation from the International City and County Management Association. And this is something that Mr. Suggs has worked on. He had to do his hours. He had to do classwork. He had to do a lot of things. So again, it wasn't something that things are bestowed. It's something that's earned. And I would like to read basically something that I wrote when I was asked to do this. And it says, I've watched him navigate our county from a declining financial situation to completely rebuilding and stabilizing reserves. Mr. Suggs has changed our organizational culture by recruiting outstanding talent and has created an environment where professionals want to come and work. Hiring Mr. Suggs will always be a wonderful memorial to me because I know I'll be able to look back one day and be able to say we hired the right person to make Putnam County better. And that was my quote I did back years ago. So, Mr. Suggs, you want to bring your wife down? Possibly. Mr. Chairman, would you like to join us, please? Sure. All right. So this is in honor of 25 years of local government service, Terry T. Suggs, in recognition for significant contributions and achievements in the advancement of local government administration, awarded at the 108th ICMA Annual Conference, September 20th, 2022. Congratulations.
Mr. McLean, don't go nowhere, sir.
I didn't need to fade away, I just needed to have the time.
You ready, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
First of all, let me just say thank you. That was that was very nice, very professional. 25 years is a long time. So you don't get there. You certainly don't get there overnight, and you certainly don't get there by yourself. So first and foremost, I need to thank my family, my wife, for putting up for what we do for the last 18 years, being my biggest supporter, bar none. So happy Valentine's Day, honey. Thank you for being here. And our son who got his community service credits for graduation through working Saturdays with me for many a year. I appreciate him doing that as well. Hopefully it gave him a sense of pride in his community, and I know it does because he's a fine young man. So, but you get this way by surrounding yourself with good people. And I'll tell you right now, here in Putnam County and where I've been, we've been able to do that. The staff that we have here, the representation of this community here is second to none. I'll put this staff up against any county in the state. They're dedicated, they're intelligent, they're high character. We're very blessed to be able to work with the folks that we work here. And the folks in this community, for the last 8 years, there was only 2 sitting commissioners that were here when I was appointed county commissioner. That would be Mr. Bill Pickens, Mr. Larry Harvey. Thank you guys for you commissioners for giving me the opportunity to serve Putnam County. And thank you other 3 for allowing me to continue to serve Putnam County. And the things that we've done here has been through the efforts of not only you 5, but also from staff and folks like Sheriff DeLoach, folks like Colonel Joe Wells, folks like Wayne McLean, who doesn't say no to anything when we ask him, folks like President Joe Pickens from St. John's River State College, and of course Mr. Tim Smith, who has been an absolute mentor to me for 8 years. And Tim, thank you for that. And of course, you've got the godfather of all, Mr. Danny Martinez, who, when Danny calls you, you take the call. So, we're very blessed to have the folks in this community that we do. And, for 8 years, it's been an opportunity for me to learn to love this community the way that we do and be a part of this community and be accepted in this community. But like I said, you don't get here alone. And, there's one thing that I've learned to live by, and that is you better have a good relationship with those that you serve for and serve with. And I've been blessed to have great folks around me. I'll start with Mr. Commando to my right. When you're having to navigate through a litigious world in which we live in public service, it's great to have a resource like Mr. Commando. And I go back, my first county city attorney was Rob Bradley before he became Senator Rob Bradley, so I was blessed there as well. And had the relationship that I have with Don Holmes, the city manager of Palatka, but also the city attorney at the time I was there, and the folks that have been in this community with me. And Matt, to watch you go from city finance director to assistant city manager to deputy county administrator to the Honorable Matt Reynolds, the clerk of the court, it's been my pleasure to watch that and be a part of that as well. So, folks, that's my comments. It's just humbling to be 25 years of public service, but it's more humbling to know that you're appreciated, and it's more humbling to know that you're doing it the right way, and that you've surrounded yourself with great people and you live in a great community, and all you want to do is see this community prosper and grow and do it the right way. So again, to you 5 for allowing us to do that and manage with my style, I thank each one of you for doing that and allowing us to do that, and I thank my staff from the bottom of my heart for all that you do for this community and do for me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
we're going to move on the agenda to item number 5, which is public comment on agended items. This portion of the agenda is designed to allow citizens an opportunity to bring matters to the attention of the board. It is not reasonable to expect that the board will engage, debate, or deliberate about the matters in which the board has received no prior information as part of the agenda. Please limit the comments to 3 minutes. Public comment cards are in the back of the room. The blue cards in the back of the room, please give them to Ashley on my left, your right. With that, I don't have any cards this morning, so would anybody like to speak on agended items? Seeing none, I'll close public comment on agenda items, and we'll move to the consent agenda. I'll ask commissioners, would they like to pull anything from the consent agenda? Commissioner Adams Act,
I have none today.
Commissioner Harvey,
I have none, sir.
Commissioner Pickens,
I have none.
Commissioner Wilkinson.
A.
Okay, and I have none.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of items B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously. Item A, Commissioner Wilkinson.
Good morning, sir. Thank you. This is for the Onyx Site Services that they have sent a letter of immediate notice of termination for MSBU. And I have St. John's Harbor in my district. And so I just wanted to ask staff to address how this is going to affect those in my district at St. John's Harbor area.
We have a pretty good plan, but I'll let JR, if he would, review what's going on right now with the rebidding and that they're going to, I'll just let JR talk about it.
So our plan moving forward is this was an all-inclusive contract to them that we did every piece of it through. So what we're going to try to work on now is it's going to hit the street really soon about doing a grading-only contract because that's the biggest majority of what all has to be done. And then we'll handle it by request for each one. So if we need somebody that trims trees, we can get a tree guy in there to do it, not necessarily tie it back to a contractor that does grading. Or if we need a ditch cleaned out, we'll get a ditch cleaning contractor in there to do it. None of those seem to be as high as, and most of the MSBUs don't bring in enough revenue to really send it out for formalized bid anyway. So we can actually work through some quote stuff on most of these MSBUs. So we're handling them right now until we get the grading contract out on per needed basis, and we're just able to hire a contractor to go in there and fix a specific problem at the time. But moving forward, we're going to put out for bid here real soon as a grading contract.
So you feel like this will give the MSBU groups more flexibility?
It will. I mean, so what they'll do is they'll bring us their priorities, and then Mr. Tony was here with us this morning as well. Paprowski will be able to work through them and get their what their vision or requests are and their work orders, and they'll be able to work through different contractors in order to get it done. I think it'll give them more flexibility. I truly do.
And then those who have already submitted work orders, you'll be looking at those work orders once you get them?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. They look at them as they come in, and they assign them out to different contractors.
Okay, all right. Mr. Thompson, I know this is unprecedented, but did you have any concerns or questions you want to address? I know you had an opportunity to speak at the consent agenda, but we didn't pull it.
Yeah, this is unprecedented, and I'm not going to allow it because it sets a precedence from now on that we're going to have to do this in every meeting from here forward. Mr. Tompkins, I will allow him to speak at the end of what we're doing if there's something he'd like to say, or he can meet with us, or I wish he would have spoke during the consent agenda comment. But Bill, please understand, if I allow it now, I'm going to have to allow everybody to do it on every subject after the consent agenda from now till the end of time.
Yeah, when you look at when you're in the public and you just look at the agenda, there's nothing on line A that says anything about Onyx or what happened. So he would have had no idea without pulling the entire package. And so I understand what you're saying, but it's hard for him.
As a courtesy to you, I'm going to allow this, Commissioner. Please come forward, Bill. And if you would just state your name and address for the record, please.
Bill Thompson, 123 Kingfish, Palatka,
I'm the chairman of the St. John's Harbor MSBU. My concern is the path going forward and how long that's going to take. We've basically been without maintenance since this contract was let in September over a year ago. The county came out, did a very good job in 3 or 4 days. It did more than the contractor had done in a year, and I applaud them for that. Just concerned about going forward and what the plan is, how long it'll take to get these contracts in place. And again, I would ask that based on what the residents asked months ago, is you consider abolishing the MSBU and bringing it into the county maintenance system. So,
We've had that discussion, Bill, and I just want to say, do you have any work orders right now that haven't been fulfilled?
I do. We
Okay. Do you know
submitted work
about them,
orders.
JR? Because as of yesterday, we didn't know of any work orders that hadn't been fulfilled.
Mr. Poprosky's got them printed now, so we found some yesterday. It was late afternoon we found out about it, but we pulled them, we got them.
Okay, well,
I'd
the whole
submitted-
idea of this should work out better, Bill, it really should, and
Yeah.
the reason is because if they do just a grading-only contract, then your price should come down tremendously, and we'll try to get somebody to respond instead of somebody who doesn't have the ability to respond.
Correct.
This is a short-term blip in the system, and it's not just yours, it was everyone that Onyx had. So, everybody's going through the same thing, but we're gonna try, the county is gonna try to maintain that service in-house, what needs to be done until we can get you another contractor in place.
Okay.
And we need to bring it to the forefront here that last year, when y'all ran out of money, the county took that over at no cost to your residents and basically finished out the year in the maintenance system, even though it was an MSBU. So it's not like we're not trying here
I
to
understand
do
that.
our part too.
So,
But I think this will make it better, I really do, especially, I think part of what was making, it wasn't just yours, it was also the one in my district, excuse me. They went way up from what they would normally cost on all the others. And after talking to some of the contractors after this, that we were told at that time that the reason they had gone up is because they were gonna have to go out and sub somebody out to clean the ditches, or sub somebody out to trim the trees or whatever, because they didn't do that. That's why this time around, we're gonna bid it to where it's just a grading contract, and then we're gonna try to do the other things that the citizens in the committees want. We're gonna try to do them in another way by bidding them out or continuing services or something, and that should make your overall price go down at the end of the year unless you want to maintain that price, and it also should help give you more services than what you have now and a bigger variety of services than what you have available to you at the time.
our biggest concern right now is the grading and ditch cleaning. We need to get some ditches cleaned before the rainy season sets in here, or we're gonna be in trouble again, so.
We're probably gonna have to just do the things that have to be done until we can get another one on board, but we're within literally days of rebidding this grading contract, not just for you, but for every one of Onyx's, of the ones that Onyx decided not to do. And it's not just y'all, there's 5 of them or something or so of the MSBU's that we have to do that we're in the same shape for. We're not hanging you out there to dry, I promise you, until such time as we can get another MSBU contractor on board. It's just not, we're not gonna be able to go at the level of service that you would get from an MSBU contractor. You get a road that's impassable or a bad pothole or something that goes on, we'll fix that. Right, JR? Yes, sir. So I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page here. So, I apologize that this had to happen, especially with the controversy we had last year over yours and another MSBU in my area. But we are working diligently to try to make it better. We really are.
Okay.
Mr.
Thank you.
Turner, thank you for that. I think that conversation had to take place, so I appreciate it.
No problem at all. Would you give us a motion to approve that item?
Yes, sir, I move to approve I move to approve item A on consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for item A on the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, ayes have it, motion carries unanimously. Okay. We're gonna move into, new business. The first thing is gonna be handled by Julianne, I'm assuming? Oh, Mr. Sullivan, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning. Sam Sullivan, Grants, Projects, Legislative Affairs, and other items.
Don't forget Port Manager.
Port Manager, yes, sir. This is the HOPE Grant, which we applied for back in June of 2020 on behalf of the Northeast Florida Regional Council and the Right Solutions. After long negotiations between the Florida Department of Transportation and those two other agencies, we have finally reached an agreement on how to spend that money according to their terms. As you see, there's $75,000 listed there. There's also a match. The match is being paid for through labor done by the council and Right Solutions and possibly the county. There will be no cash out of the county coffers. There's a letter in the package signed by past Chairman Mr. Pickens attesting to that understanding. And what the program would do is do a study on how to get people from the community to better paying jobs with those who have transportation challenges. And that's basically a summary. And the council is here if you have additional questions.
What do you need from us this morning? Just a motion to approve the grant, is that?
Motion to accept the grant, yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the motion to accept the grant, $75,000.
I'll second. We have a motion to approve. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, let me clarify, it might be 83,334 with our match, so I'll clarify that. Thank you.
Okay. So, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Commissioner Adams, aye.
So this has been talked about during the transportation that I chair, the transportation thing. My question is, there was talks about this Idea Fest. I wanted to make sure it was going to happen in Putnam County, and that was part of the conversation that we had. Or
Let me
if
refer
there was
the answer to
some
the council.
conversation about it happening in Jacksonville or other places. Since we're talking about Putnam County, I'd like to make sure that's happening here. My understanding is it will.
My name's Noel. I would introduce myself as Director of Planning for the Regional Council. So to help answer your question, the short answer is yes, we can do it here. We can also make it virtual. The good news is even though Putnam's not within the North Florida TPO, they are helping us with this, as well as leveraging one of their contractors. So it's going through Smart North Florida, it's going through TPO. There's a lot of people involved in this, I guess you'd say. And an added note real quick is that, which we learned, is that this is the first and only HOPE grant in the state of Florida so far. So in a sense, all eyes are on us, but we're aware of that.
So I guess you kind of answered the question.
I did, yes up front.
So yes, it will be held in Putnam County with a virtual option. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the list is item B, which is the library carpet for the library. Sarah's gonna do that, okay. Has this changed from the other day? You're actually just asking for $7,000 that's not budgeted?
No, actually, yes, it has changed, and no, I'm not asking for an additional 7,000. We went back to the vendor, and he provided a quote that was lower than the $60,000. So the requested amount is $54,963. What we're asking the board is, excuse me, originally the $60,000 for capital fund was $30,000 for Palatka and $30,000 for Melrose. So basically, we're asking to put the 54 all in Palatka, and then we'll put Melrose on the next request with Crescent City and Interlochen.
So you're asking to keep the 30 that you already had for the other library and to give you 24 more instead of 7 more like it was last week. How did that get from there to here? And I haven't heard of it?
No. Last week,
We actually made progress. The total purchase last week was $67,000 for only one branch. We were able to revise that, and now it's $54,000 for one branch. But we were always only able to get one branch done within the parameters of the 60.
So now you're just looking for us to go ahead and fund the 54 for the library today?
Yeah, the funding is there. The earmark in the funding denotes that it would cover 2 branches, and we're asking the board to amend the capital plan so that it reads that that funding that is earmarked, that's already in the budget, is only going to cover the Palaca branch.
Okay, but that's all we're doing today is taking the 60 that's already in the budget that was supposed to cover 2 and spending it on 1 at 54.
Correct.
Correct.
Make sure we understand.
Yep.
Okay, so, all right, what is the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Commissioner Pickens?
Yeah, I've got a question on it. We're gonna do Melrose at some time, right?
Correct.
Carpet's not going up, I mean down, carpet's going up. Julianne said it costs, what, $20,500?
The quote that was submitted for Melrose was $20,500 to do the Melrose branch.
I didn't hear that either.
I just heard it right now. I think we ought to discuss going ahead and knocking that one out too, getting both of those done.
Make your motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the bid for $54,963 and also add another $20,500 to take care of the Melrose carpet issue, also.
Okay.
So we have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Harvey, your light's on. Did you have something else you wanted? That's what I was going to talk about. Commissioner Adams-Act, did you have something?
Yeah, just like always, I always call. We only have one vendor, and it's not a Putnam County vendor. I just curious why we didn't talk to Palaca Flooring and some
Did, they were hired.
Okay.
This is
Just
the
again,
state contract, is why it's Teal Tile was the one, because they're the state contractor for this stuff.
Right.
But they did talk Palaca Flooring, and Palaca Flooring was considerably higher.
Considerably higher. Again, I just would like to see a little note in the item saying that we talked to other vendors. Same as with IT, with anything. So, okay, as long as they're higher, I guess I'll go with it, but I would like to see those notes in the future.
Any further discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
before we get off that, I don't mind the notes being on there, but I don't want to be calling out our local providers that they might be higher. I think it's just prudent for us to say local people have been contacted, and that's about it. I don't want to embarrass anybody, and that's not the case.
Okay.
That was not my intention. I actually use them quite frequently. So I checked outside.
Yeah, they were at my house
I
yesterday.
do not want them upset, I promise you.
But my question is, I'd like to see, I guess if it's state contract, again, that's where it separates it a little bit, and that's not clear in the notion. If it's state contract, I guess it doesn't matter, let's just be clearer about that.
It's on the agenda that it was through state contract on the
All right.
agenda item.
So I agree, we shouldn't call local vendors, and they are doing carpet in my daughter's bedroom. Thank you.
Commissioner Pickens, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Adams asking that, and Commissioner Harvey mentioned it also, and when I sat down with Julianne, I asked about local vendors, so she was able to inform me about that. Because I know this whole commission is very for, local businesses, and giving them the opportunity to bid when they can be competitive. We also
Absolutely.
have to, take the lowest bid, so, okay, thank you, that's all I have.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, motion carries unanimously. You always get what you want and then some, Sarah. How do you get that done? How do you get that done?
Yeah, in less than 7 minutes.
Okay, we're gonna move to the next item, which is the Cal Bay access easement. This is basically some electrical, the solar people wanted access to the lift to the power station, and it's been reviewed by Public Works and also by sanitation to make sure it wouldn't bother any of the works or whatever. And they're just asking for access down a road that's already there, basically past us. So, nobody has an issue, Chair, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the Cal Bay Road access easement as stated in our agenda.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, motion carries unanimously. The next item on the list is Public Works about 2 years ago had asked for a camera that they could run, that they could look at all the culverts and some other options too, but mostly the culverts. And we vetted this pretty hard over the last month or so, and the original price that they had on the agenda when we took it off and revisited it was $127 and change, and they got it down by renegotiating and changing the type of the camera a little bit and whatever. They actually got it down from 127 to 96, 429. I went through them. I just wanted everybody to know that I went through the motions with them about how much would it cost to hire somebody to go out and do this on the side, how much would it cost to lease a camera, how much would it cost, all these different options. And right now we have 40 plus of these culverts that we need to shine a camera down. Well, it's about $3,000 a culvert is what it is to have somebody come shoot them with this $100,000 camera. So, you know, basically to get the 40 of them done would cost more than the camera itself is going to cost. So we need to go ahead and it looks to me like and purchase this camera, and we can start doing these on our own. So that's my 2 cents. Is there any questions or comments, Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I met with staff about this too and felt better after meeting with staff. Just wanted to really make sure, and I got confirmation that this will be something that will be used. You know, sometimes we buy things and we just don't use them to their full potential, and that happens in Public Works case or other cases. But in this case, I feel like it's a very good investment into what we can do, and it'll save our county money in the long run if used correctly. So I'll just leave it like that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Make a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve item D to purchase the pipeline camera system for the stated amount.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, motion carries. And along those same lines, Commissioner Harvey, my biggest concern was is that we throw it in the back of the truck and then chuck another tool on top of it and ruin it. But I've been assured that there's going to be proper training done to whoever runs this camera to understand they can't hook it to the back of the truck and drag it back to Public Works. So anyhow, that was also one of my concerns, not the dragging part. That was a smart aleck remark.
I think it's quite appropriate.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm glad that we're doing this because I know we have a situation in District 1, so we'll test it in District 1.
I'm surprised that it's already not down there.
Well, we tried to get a test run for this particular item, and that didn't happen. So
It'll probably shift to District 1.
I was trying. Well, just as soon as we tested in District 1 is 1, 2, and 3, 4 in order. Yes, ma'am. So.
I think we should have a fishbowl with numbers on it and pull out the one, see who wins the.
Well, Paul might want to go by last name first, right, Paul?
Yeah, there you go. I just want to make one comment on it. The thing that really made it favorable to me is the multiple diameter pipe that it can go into, the 6 inch to 36 inch. It allows us to, you know, get some of these smaller locations and the bigger ones. My worry, and sometimes you get stuff like that, it's like 18 inch and above or something that eliminates a lot of what we have here in our county. So thank you for making sure it did that.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, just to add on to Mr. Adams' act, is if we do get to the point where we have larger infrastructure, it has abilities to change it down the road for a small amount to make it where it'll do larger infrastructure as well. So there is other pieces and parts that could be added to this camera in the future if we had something that was a 72-inch culvert that it could go down and would be able to see as well.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the, did we vote on that, Ashley? Yeah, we did. We voted on it. Ashley says we did. Okay. Passed unanimously.
Aye.
All right. I was not gonna argue with you, I promise you. I can't walk in the other room and remember what I went after. I'm sure not gonna argue about this. Okay, we're gonna move on to item E, which is the Transportation Alternative Set-Aside Project TAP recommendation. I'm assuming everybody saw them in their agenda. We've discussed them before. It's basically the TAP recommendation, so it's for bike trails and things of that nature. And,
Okay. So the first item is the State Road 100 crossing at 309C Palaca to Lake Butler State Trail connection. And speaking with staff, and you really can't determine this in looking at the package, one of the ideas that's on this, probably the main idea in speaking with staff, is a pedestrian bridge over 100. And I have a lot of heartburn with that idea, simply because I feel like that's not the best utilization of dollars. And I know it's FDOT money, but at the same time, we still have to be good stewards of all the revenue and funding. And so if we were going to build a pedestrian crossover bridge, I would say that's not the best spot in the county to put it. I live on 100, I live off of 100. I cross this area 4 times a day at a minimum. I've never seen a bicyclist sitting there waiting to cross 100 to get to 309C. 309C, the trail that's on that side was built by the county, and it doesn't even connect to 100 yet. So it makes more sense to finish the trail system all the way out, which I know that they're working on that. But I just don't see this as one of the, it seems like we should be able to utilize these funds for a better project in this county. And I don't know if I want to take it off, and so I just want to have this whole discussion with everybody. You guys have a lot more history. But at the same time, if we could say anything but a bridge, because I'm not good with the bridge crossing 100.
When we brought this up in pre-agenda, we had this exact same discussion, almost word for word, I had with them. And I actually was not as nice as you are about it, and I'm not as nice as you are. So we actually were going to take it off of this recommended TAP list until we found out that DOT actually requested that we place this on our TAP recommendation list, because none of us want a light there. None of it, like they have over there in St. Johns County, where you cross the bike path over 207, that to have a light there. Nobody really wanted that, and so I don't really know what the other option would be other than, and like I said, we had taken that off of the TAP recommendation until DOT requested that we place it back on there. Now, did I miss something wrong there, JR?
No, they asked for support for a crossing there. It doesn't necessarily have to be a pedestrian bridge. We did get clarification on that, so it could be any type of crossing, but they would ask us to give some kind of an application for a crossing at that point.
Right, and I don't mind a flashing light, but at the same time, I'm really not sure why we're even taking them across 100 in that intersection, because there's nothing that connects. And we haven't finished the side of 309C, and when we do finish it, that's just going to be a loop. Just, you're going to go up behind the park and up around the college and back down. So this is particular to the Palaca to Lake Butler State Trail connection. That's not the connection. The connection all stays on the perpendicular with 100.
So what would your suggestion be to just, instead of the pedestrian bridge, just request a crossing there, which is what we were going to do, but then DOT, I was told DOT requested an overpass, but if they've changed their mind to just a crossing, that's where I was back before this started.
Well, so I had asked for a lot of records to be pulled, and Mike Nimitz had got me a lot of information, and yet that was part of the discussion. But in speaking with Craig McLean on the trails, it doesn't have to be a pedestrian bridge, and so I'm okay with crossing, but not with a bridge. If we were going to put a bridge for pedestrians to cross, this it wouldn't, to me, serve the citizens the best.
Good with that. So you're recommending at this point that we change that to a pedestrian crossing instead of a bridge?
Or
I'd like
anything
to
but a
speak
bridge.
to that before we.
Pardon me?
I'd like to express my opinion on it. I think whatever DOT deems right there, and I think the reason you don't see people go down 309C, I've walked and rode that trail a couple times. Now I may get back into that again now that I'm physically able again. Is because it scares the crap out of people across 100, to be quite frank. So they don't use 309C. If we're going to be serious about the business park and other assets, that trail goes down by the business park. That's going to be a good thing to advertise to people as they're employing people and other things, that you can take a trail on your break during lunch, you can go ride, you can get to that trail, whether it's a bridge or wherever. I don't want to take any option off the plate. And that does take you all the way to St. John's. And then it allows you where we're going to have the St. John's one towards the park to get you back over to other areas. I think we shouldn't take anything off the table in that crossing. And the safer, the better. And I think an overhead is the safest crossing we could have.
Well,
And how does that interfere with traffic? It's high enough, doesn't block traffic or anything, and most of them are pretty attractive nowadays. They're not ugly like in the old days where they had crazy looking fencing and just a concrete barrier. The state, all the ones I've seen that have been done recently are very attractive.
Right.
Larry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, my thought's a little different on that. I'm not one to think about going overhead as much as I am going underneath. And, you know, we do own, the county owns both pieces of property on the side of 309C and 100. We purchased that not too long ago. I could see, like they have in some areas where, say, wildlife crossing under the road. Maybe it's a little bit bigger than that. But, and Commissioner Adams, you're probably right. More people would use that to traverse that area. But I think going underneath would be a better plan than going up above. And that would be my suggestion at that point. And that's just my thought.
Well, after reading this, it basically says that we're asking for a crossing there. It doesn't really dictate what kind of crossing we're even asking for. So are you saying you still want a crossing, you just don't want a bridge? Because I'm sure they would come back to us before they said, DOT used this, kind of like when I first showed up around here, they were going to put a roundabout at the end of East End Road.
Yes, sir, I remember that.
And I bowed up about it, and they came and redesigned the thing, and it's real nice. If you've been on East End Road lately, the turn lanes in both directions, and everything's really nice compared to what it was, and it sure is better than it would have been with a roundabout. And so they do listen when it comes to that point in design. So, you know, would it be possible? I don't know, Mike, you may need to come up and answer this question. You have a little more experience with this type of thing. Would it be possible for us to make a request that we want a crossing and let them come back with design, but then make the request that we would like to know what it is before they go through full design? Because it sounds to me like if they put in a bridge, we're going to have a discussion on whether or not we want a bridge.
Again, this is the application for funding, so we need to have some type of design in mind when we go to submit this application. So we'll need to have, you know, estimates and things of that nature put together, so we need to have that.
I should have to ask you to come forward.
So, my thoughts on it, maybe we go for the bridge.
You didn't read the cue card.
And ask for the Cadillac, and then we get the Buick, per se, you know.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Ask for the bridge, you know. I like to ask for the Cadillac, and if they don't want to do Cadillac, we'll do the Buick, which would be the signalized crossing. That's my thought.
She doesn't want a bridge at all.
Then don't ask for the bridge, we could go for the signalized, you know, crossing.
My thought about a bridge is if we're putting a big bridge, millions of dollars in Putnam County, Florida, then 100 and 309C would not be the best utilization of those dollars. To me, that would be downtown. You know, when we have festivals, people are crossing 6 lanes of traffic. If you're going to put a pedestrian bridge, it makes a lot more sense to put it where it's going to be utilized by more people, more citizens in this community than some. And safety, yes, safety is an issue, and we certainly want people to cross. If we're going to cross there, we want it to be safe. But what about if 100 gets widened? At some point, it's going to be 4 lanes. So we build a bridge now, and then 10 years later, we're knocking it down because we're 4 lane and 100. I mean, is all those things considered?
Well, again, yes, the DOT will be the ones who will be building this bridge. It isn't their right-of-way. So kind of what the intent is behind this application is to get them moving forward so they put some type of crossing in place. So they'll take that into consideration. They'll look 40 or 50 years out into their plans and make sure that whatever they put in will accommodate
Right. Well, and so are these in ranking order?
Yes. And again, this one dates back to the Press Tompkins era. There were discussions about
Yes,
this
sir, I
crossing
remember
back
when I-
then with a number of different things that have, transparent over the years. Again, you have a multitude of trails in this area going to the business park, St. John's Avenue, the one along 100. So the idea was that this would tie those areas.
This definitely connects
Good
all
save,
those.
Commissioner Harvey's next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Nimitz, I don't watch a lot of TV, but I've said it from my seat that I like to watch the YouTube videos and how they build roads. And is my idea completely like nuts about going underground a little bit with a box culvert, if you will, that somebody, maybe not my size, could completely stand up and walk through, but bicycles might be able to go, or
I don't think it's out of the question, but again, there's a lot of unknown variables. There's the geotechnical, which we don't know, the water table, things of that nature that could significantly increase the cost of construction. Looking at dewatering and things of that nature, going across a DOT road, it can become very expensive. Those are things we have not looked into yet.
it seemed to me like a box culvert would be a little cheaper idea and wouldn't be so intrusive there at that area.
As long as it didn't stay underwater.
Yeah, as long as it didn't stay underwater. And the road would have to be raised up, and that would mean flaring down the roads a little bit further down. And I get all that, but I guess my question is, can we narratively say to DOT, we want this possibly, but we might not want a bridge, we might want to go under, we probably don't want a light there. I mean, that's not a good place. It's a bad intersection to begin with. You're going to stop traffic and stop traffic, and that's my point there. But I don't want to stop there like because somebody's on a bicycle. I'm with Commissioner Wilkinson. I'm through that area quite often and hardly ever see anybody down there riding a bicycle across the road. I just don't. Now, they might. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't see it.
I don't have an opinion on what we should do there, I really don't. But I'd like to try to focus on coming up with a compromise here between all my commissioners on what y'all want there. Now, if we could possibly say, if you don't want a bridge, I don't disagree with any of the reasoning you said. If you just say, I'd just soon not have a bridge there, and you're just hell-bent on having a ditch dug underneath it where they can drive through, that's fine too. If Commissioner Adams Act wants something different, that's fine, but I'd like to try to bring this in for a landing and get focused on what you really do and don't really, if you're passionate about one thing or another. Maybe we could just ask for a crossing at this point, just as a possible compromise. Ask for a crossing at this point and let them come up with whatever they want to do. I'm with them. I've never seen anybody sitting there on a bicycle. I go through there all the time. I've never seen anybody sitting on a bicycle waiting on to get across the road. If they did, they could drive right behind me. They could ride across, because it's not like it's bumper to bumper and this is downtown Hialeah or something. So I don't know if that's more maybe what you had in mind, Commissioner, or?
No, I'm good with the crossing there if maybe a flashing light or something that lets somebody know they're on the signal, and then it flashes and said, hey, there's a biker coming across, and so both parties, on the road and the bicyclist knows. I'm fine with that, but a bridge to me is a lot of millions of dollars that I just don't know that that's the best use of those dollars. So I'm just against a bridge.
Mr. Adams Act, you have something?
I'm not against the bridge. I'm not against prioritizing the other two ahead of this one either, though. Making this the third on the priority list. I think there's communities being built towards the end of 309C. Again, we want the business park to take off. I think there's going to be usage cases for that trail on 309C that's going to have it being utilized more often. Getting people off 100 and off the Lake Butler Trail safely to the 309C, I think, is what's going to get the usage of that trail to actually occur, instead of right now, like you're saying, maybe you'd see a deer on it. I've never seen one riding a bike either, but I know the people that ride the trails don't tend to go on there because they don't want to cross 100. and there is no safe way to ride 100 on the right side, and that's the legal side that you'd have to ride on if you're riding a bike down 100 and actually on the road. I think the only way is either to go under, like Commissioner Harvey says, or to go over. I don't think a flashing light does anything on State Road 100. People drive like maniacs on State Road 100. I do not drive on State Road 100 unless if I have to go to Barton. I absolutely avoid it at all costs because I've been going 73 miles an hour, and Larry knows I drive faster than I should because I've passed it many times throughout Putnam County. And I've been passed by people that had to be doing 85, 90, 100 miles an hour. So it's not a safe road. It will never be safe whether we put a light there or anything unless it was a red light with hit a button to cross, in my opinion, unless we go over or under.
Okay, so, yes, sir, Commissioner Harvey.
And you know,
Hopefully that includes a motion or something.
okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike, you know, the other thing I want to say, if this is a lot more complicated, that intersection is, instead of just putting a pedestrian. At one time, we have taught, when we bought that property to the, let me get my bearings straight, to the east there, I believe we already owned that property, bought it to the west from Mr. Allen. When we talked about trying to straighten out that road a little bit. And I think if we're going to look at that intersection at all, it needs to be a holistic approach of how we can access our business park. Because, you know, again, we've had trucking companies come in. I know you want to say something. I'll give you just a moment. We've had trucking companies come in wanting to be put in the business park. And we've also had residents come here and stand here in the past few months asking us not to put any more trucks along that St. Johns Avenue extension and 309C. So we've got to really, I'm not so sure we have the right plan to do something, and with the expansion that could take place down there, I think we need to tap the brakes on this one and go maybe with the other two, or go somewhere else with it if we need a third one. But we've got to look at that whole area as reconstruction, and what that's going to look like, I have no idea.
Would a TAP grant cover redoing a whole intersection, or is that basically just for bike paths and additions? In other words, could we ask them as part of this because I don't know of an intersection hardly in Putnam County that doesn't need a turn lane coming from out toward Barton to that direction, and a turn lane coming from town, and an excel lane if you're in a truck and you come out of the business park and you turn on 100 back toward Palaca. I don't know of anywhere that doesn't need an excel lane more than that place does right there. So could we ask for that, or could we make that a further request and ask for that? Because this is a safety issue, and safety pot of money is different. In other words, the one on East End, I keep referring to it because I just went through it, but the one on East End was usually a 8 to 10 year process. We got it done in basically 4.5 years from when it started and we got designed. We got it done because it was safety money, and it's a different pot, and there's more money available sometimes for smaller projects in that pot. Could we look at it like that?
Well, DOT would take those certain elements into consideration, you know, as long as it could be related to safety. There will be additional improvements beyond just the bridge that would have to be taken into account. How far that would go, I can't really give you a clear idea of that at this point.
Could we make recommendations to DOT and tell them that along with this, that we want decel and XL lanes, you know, and included for the Springside cutoff, 309C or whatever it is, in the deal, and maybe a turn lane coming from town where if you was going to turn in there from town. I mean, basically right now, if it's real busy on there and you're a semi-truck, you can't hardly get across there.
Yes, we absolutely can, and more of that will be covered in the studies part of this as well, when they're going through the design process.
We include that as part of our request.
Yes.
That along with if this is a bicycle thing, then maybe we could lead that we want the bicycle crossing there, but we want to look at the whole intersection and make it safer with turn lanes and different things and crosswalks and turn lanes and what have you along with the bicycle trail. Could we do that as part of the TAP, you think?
Yes, sir, we should be able to.
Okay, is that a good compromise for everybody to try to get there? Okay, you want a motion or you just want a consensus?
We also want
I
to
think there's a resolution here, so
Okay. You don't like the priorities that are on here now?
No, sir.
Okay. What would you, recommend?
I would just move 1 to 3 and 2 up to 1. So it'd be Crescent City sidewalk would be 1, Witten Avenue would be 2, and the crossing would be 3.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Anybody have a problem with that?
I don't. I do want to talk about Witten, though.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Adams' act light was on and I missed it. I'm sorry, Commissioner Adams' act.
No, I lit my light because you had mentioned alternatives. So I'll withhold that since we seem to have gotten away from alternatives.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, on Witten Avenue, that is off of Sun Avenue going into Interlochen Lake Estates. And what you'll see there is you'll see a sidewalk to nowhere. That was the Obamacare money that came out many years ago, and they ran out of money, and the sidewalk stops between two roads, basically. It's, so this is just and I get a lot of heat from that, from people in the community that go to the sidewalk to nowhere, but it does just end. And we've talked about it since I've been here, not the commission, but Public Works. And at one time we were going to send prisoners out there and just do it. One time our Rotary Club was going to go out there with shovels and try to dig a footer and get that going. So it's just, this is kind of maybe to finish it out to Scott, move people, because there are people that walk that road, but it would at least get those people off of that main, so it gets kind of busy right there. And I wanted to explain that maybe we can take a sidewalk to nowhere and finish it out for that community out there. That's all. Thank you.
Keep it up, Sheriff. I'm gonna make you leave the room. Little private joke.
I just wanted to say that I am trying to slow down my speed on the roads in Putnam County.
Okay, so did that mean you're for or against that being number 2, the sidewalk to nowhere that's gonna now be?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of moving item number 2 up to number 1, number 3 up to number 2, and number 1 down to number 3, knowing that if number 3 makes this process, it's going to be a little bit bigger process.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, motion carries unanimously. And by the way, it didn't surprise me at all that Crescent City became number 1.
I appreciate the extra love on Valentine's Day,
Yeah, I
Commissioners.
I guess we can take the camera down there, the new camera, and take pictures of the new intersection. Okay. Next, we're gonna move into code enforcement. Mr. Thomas Moore Esquire.
Y'all have a chance to read the.
Before you get started, Thomas, y'all need a recess or we good? Yeah, let's take 5. We're gonna take, sorry, Thomas, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess. Call the meeting back to order here, and Thomas, if you would start for us, please, sir.
We have a piece of property that has a lien that's attached for a previous owner, attached to regarding another property that he had owned before. And he's trying to sell this parcel, and he is requesting a partial lien release for this parcel that does not have a code case. To tell him that I have to present it to the board for approval.
Okay, so just so I understand this correctly, excuse me, the person who's asking for the partial lien release for this particular piece of property, is he the person that had the violation on another piece of property that's asking for this, or did somebody buy the property and they're asking for the release of lien?
He's the original person. Now, the property with the violation is in a different owner's name now.
Okay. Well, in most cases, this would be a slam dunk, but I think if we're not careful here, we're fixing to blow up a can of worms that'll never be fixed. And the reason I'm saying that is, if we take the lien off this, then we need to just go ahead and make it to where it doesn't attach to two properties if you own more than one property, which I always kind of thought was a little unfair anyhow, because if I own 10 properties and have a violation on one, and then there's a lien that attaches to all 10 of mine, but if I only have one property and has a problem, it only attaches to that property. That's not quite fair. I understand the enforcement value of that happening, but it's not quite fair. And so we either need to see about changing that or leave it alone. I mean, one or the other. I think we should see about changing it myself and back to where the violation would be on the piece of property that the actual violation was on, and not on everything else that you can attach to from the person. That's another way to look at it. What are you looking at me like that for? Okay, so it attaches to everybody that, well, it's, okay, so we can't do anything about it, but it's unfair as hell, I'm just telling you. That if I have 10 pieces of property and I have a violation on one of them that attaches to all 10, but you only have one piece of property and your violation is bigger and it only attaches to one property. So if I sell any of my other 9 properties there's no violation on, somebody's supposed to clear up that one violation. Does that mean we don't have the authority to do what they're asking us to do and take the partial lien on one piece of property? So he's asking us to release one that never had a violation on it at all, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Moore, I think I got confused during your narrative there. Did you say that the other parcels that Mr. Ritchie owns are no longer in his name?
Parcel that, with the lien, the parcel that has the lien, the violations, it's no longer in his name. It's now in his ex-son-in-law's name. But the lien was filed in Mr. Ritchie's name in 2007, so it attached to everything he owns. He owns 3 properties.
So he sold that property with a lien on it, and his son-in-law bought the property knowing that the lien was on it.
Yes, sir.
And didn't clear it up.
He's tried. This case has been going on since 2007. It's for enclosing a garage. He's pulled 2 permits, one in 2007 and one in 2020. Neither one of the permits was ever approved because he didn't supply all the documentation he needed. He did pull another one, another permit December 20, this last year, and we're waiting for one piece of information for him to get the permit. Just, you know, for y'all.
So the question I have, I'm sorry, so we changed the ownership on the property that the lien, the violations on.
Yes, sir.
When did he do that? I mean, was that?
2013.
Oh, that was a long time ago. Okay.
So this whole enforcement is because they didn't pull a permit on enclosing a garage? That's what all this is about?
Yes, sir. It required engineered plans, because it's after the fact. Can't be a regular permit, it can't go through inspections, so it needs an
We couldn't
engineered.
just go out there and look and see if there was any code violations without fighting over this since 2007?
Say that
I'm not
again?
being critical.
No, I mean, say that again.
Take it like that.
Say that, we've taken it to all the magistrate hearings, it's got an abatement foreclosure order. And we have to give him a chance to pull the permits, which he's done 3 times.
But they're living in this enclosed garage since 2007?
They're living in the house with the enclosed garage, yes, sir.
It burnt down yet? I'm actually counting to 10, that's what's making it. So, trying to remain focused on the issue today. So basically, he's sold the property to his son-in-law or whoever, to somebody else, and they're still living in it. And they're trying to rectify that situation, but because he owned multiple properties over the permit that he didn't pull, he's asking today to partial release the lien on a separate piece of property that never had the no permit violation to start with.
Yes, sir.
So if I could make a motion, I'll tell you straight up, I'd make it. I'd release the lien on the property. It'd just be me. I mean, really, on all of Commissioner Adams, Act, your lights on.
In this thing, it says something about trash, debris, tires and stuff as well. Has that all been cleaned up? And
Yes, sir, that's all been cleared.
so all we're talking about is the garage now.
Yes, sir.
The garage was what, a pole barn or something that they,
No, sir, it was a regular 2-car garage on home that he just enclosed and made into a living space.
I got what you're saying. So they just added a bedroom or something into it.
Yes, sir.
Didn't pull a permit, so all these years later, they're trying to take their home and all the other property they own, because they didn't pull a permit on closing in the garage.
And there was no special case, there wasn't an ill family member or anything like that, that
Commissioner Harvey?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval that we release the partial lien on this request.
second.
Commissioner, we have a motion and a second under discussion. Commissioner Pickens, did you have something to add?
Is he now compliant on this one? Or is he just attempting to get compliant?
No, finally, we got the engineered plans, we're waiting for an AC report, two reports from that has to do with AC.
That's on the original property, isn't it? Not on this one we're releasing the lien on.
Yes, that's on the original one with the
property that he doesn't own anymore. This property here never was.
Okay, it never was, okay.
It just the lien attached to it because they didn't pull a permit when they closed their garage back in 2007.
Taking care of that.
Well, it's sold to somebody else. So
That was
a different owner owns that now, and that person's trying to take care of it. And what Thomas is saying, he's trying to take care of the original violation, even though it's not in this person's name anymore.
I'm good, thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you, Thomas, and please understand my frustration had nothing to do with aimed at you, please. Every now and then you run into a situation that you just feel like is perhaps a little overbearing from government or unfair or whatever, and this just happened to be one of those that struck me that way, so it wasn't aimed at you, my friend. So, anyhow, that's really a shame when you hear stories like this, that somebody's liable to lose all their properties everywhere because they didn't pull a permit. So anyhow, next we're gonna move down to item 9 on the agenda, which is the Honorable Matt Reynolds, Clerk of Court.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, happy Valentine's Day to everybody. But second, I'd like to take just another moment to congratulate Mr. Terry Suggs on his award that he received today. It's a very, very well-deserved award, 25 years in public service. I am very fortunate to have been worked with Mr. Suggs for almost a decade of those 25 years now. He and I talked about that yesterday. It's been it's hard to believe it's been that long. But I will say that I wanted to say that I would not be in the position that I'm in today if it were not for Mr. Suggs, and probably not in the traditional sense that most people think, because he gave me the opportunity to be Deputy County Administrator, supported me in my when I sought out this position. It's more so because when he first got to the city of Palaca, I had another opportunity facing me, and I told him that. I think it was the first week that he made it to the city of Palaca. It's obviously not something that you want to tell your boss when they first come in, but I thought he needed to know, and I made the conscious decision after talking with him and thinking about it that I wanted to stay working for him, and that decision alone was what led to the opportunities that put me in the position that I am now. So I just wanted to tell him thank you and congratulations for his award.
Thank you, Matt. Maybe we're losing the place, Gator. All right. Okay, we're going to move into appointments here, item 10 on the agenda. Commissioner Adams Act, do you have any appointments for us today?
I have none.
Commissioner Harvey?
I do have one, sir. The Zoning Board of Adjustments, I'm replacing Amy Stanley, where she actually expired, and Troy Weaver, and he has filled out the citizens form, and Laura has it in her position now, so Troy Weaver will be on the Zoning Board.
Okay. That's all you have today, sir. Thank
That's
you.
it, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Pickens, do you have any today?
I have none.
Commissioner Wilkinson?
There's none on here for District 2, so I'm doing really
There's some at-larges.
Yes, sir, I have one. Waterways and Trails, I'd like to nominate Jody Lee. He's retired from the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, and I think he would be a great resource for that committee.
Okay, we're going to have to vote on that because it's an at-large appointment.
Yes, sir.
So no second is needed as recommended. So all in favor of Jody Lee, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, motion carries unanimously. And I have none to add today. Just for the record, Congressman Waltz, welcome this morning. Please come forward. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Unless you want my chair, sir, I'll come stand down there.
Well, it's great to be with you, and I just wanted to take a moment and come by and say hello, address you in the commission and all of you, and then also all of Putnam County. So with redistricting that we do every 10 years, I currently represent parts of St. Johns County, Flagler, Volusia, and now am stepping into some high heels of Kat Kamick and Representative Kamick, and before her, Ted Yoho, to represent Putnam County, and then out to Marion and parts of Lake. So we're going to be doing a lot of driving. My district now spans from St. Augustine to Ocala, down to the villages, and then back over to Daytona. It's really, truly my honor. I took and was elected to the seat after then Congressman DeSantis was elected to be our great governor, and come to this with 27 years now of military experience as a Green Beret in the Army, but also with business expertise, and grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. proud West Side boy that spent many weekends, and I believe it was always on Memorial Day, coming down to the Blue Crab Festival. I had family from Palatka. So never in a million years, and only in America, would I find myself now in this position. I just wanted to share with you a couple of priorities that I have. I sit on the Armed Services Committee and now will be chairman, or am chairman, of our subcommittee on military readiness. That has oversight of all training, all of our bases, all of our military construction worldwide, and including obviously here in Florida. That will always be a priority for me. I believe, just as a governing philosophy, that the number one job of the federal government is to keep us safe. Pretty much everything else we do, I will fight to push down to your level and make sure you have the resources that you need, but that the decisions are made as locally as possible. Things are obviously handled differently in Putnam County than Montana, than downtown Los Angeles, and as it should be. But you all, as great as you are, can't keep the country safe, can't defend our borders, and that's the federal government's job. So keeping a strong, healthy, robust military will always be a focus of mine. That's how we keep the peace around the world. I think we've just seen in this last week a very visible symbol in the balloon of the avalanche of espionage that we are facing in our universities, in our tech sector, in our businesses, in cyber, and that's something that we have to absolutely combat, and we have to win that competition. I don't want our future generations growing up in a world led by the Chinese Communist Party. That is their design. That is their goal in replacing the United States. That's something that we have to stop. And then here locally, I am a real advocate of bringing businesses into North Central Florida and bringing growth. We have pushed with varying levels of success. All I can do is push and then try to provide the federal resources that are needed. A vaccine manufacturing company that has some amazing technologies. There's no biohazard needed. They actually can reproduce it chemically rather than biologically to trick the body's antibodies. And this is for Alzheimer, across, for all types of vaccines. We've pushed for those. We've pushed for an electric boat company that's going to try to be the Tesla of boats. I could keep going on down the list of things that we are trying to incentivize coming into North Central Florida. The space commercial sector, I want it gravitating north out of Cape Canaveral and not south out of Cape Canaveral. And what they are doing, I mean, folks, there is a company there that literally is building an entire rocket out of 3D printing, the whole thing. With the goal of eventually putting those printers up in space and manufacturing rockets in space rather than down here. But that ecosystem can spread and is spreading from here all the way up to, from Cape Canaveral all the way up to Cecil Field, and I think can be really transformative for our economies. I know, and I've already heard from a number of business leaders, there are issues unique to Putnam. I am all ears, and I just want to take a moment to introduce my district director, Brigadier General retired, Ernie Audino. And we have multiple offices throughout the district, but if you haven't gotten to know General Audino, please do. He is really our team's eyes and ears on the ground here in the district when I'm stuck up in D.C. And for anything that any of our constituents need, I take district services incredibly seriously. Yes, we'll push the big legislation. We'll fight about it. Oftentimes, I want Washington not to do things as much as I want them to do things. But in terms of taking care of our constituents on their federal needs in Social Security and immigration and the Department of Veterans Affairs, the IRS, or whatever they need, that will go through our team. So please don't hesitate to give us a call. And I will make sure every one of you have my number and anything you need. I truly view that I am here to support you all. Last thing, Florida gets really the short end of the stick when it comes to federal dollars. These formulas and how these funds are distributed out to the states are incredibly dated and have not kept up with the massive shift in population we've seen in this country. Case in point, there are many of them, but case in point is for water, for clean water, whether that's beach renourishment, different types of resiliency along the St. John's, wastewater, runoff. For example, New York gets double the money that Florida does, despite now having a smaller population. So those are things that Senator Rubio and I are working on. Obviously, those other delegations and those other states have a real incentive to not lose those federal dollars. But one of the things that I will continue to fight for is to get those formulas, whether it's for bridges, for water, for federal highways, you name it, shifted so that we get our fair share. All right, with that, I'll stop. Thank you so much for letting me stop in and say hello. I really am honored to work with every one of you. The county commission, in my mind, is where the rubber meets the road for what our citizens need in their daily lives. Thank you so much, and God bless you. All right.
As always, Congressman, it's great for you to be in Putnam County, God's country. Glad you came by this morning. We appreciate it very much. So,
Mr. Chairman, would you mind?
not at all, Commissioner Harvey.
Last week, a few of us were up in D.C., Mr. Suggs and Julianne and Sam Sullivan and myself. And Congressman, you were very gracious to be our first meeting that we had. We talked to you about our port, and you were excited about that. And we will reschedule that meeting to go out and look at the port for another date. And also the water projects we're working on that actually Congressman Micah started. So this is, a lot of things are the stars are lining up for Putnam County, and we do need those projects. But I just want to say how gracious you were to meet with us. I know it's tough. The bell rings and you have to go vote. We get that fully, so we do. But you're right. Where the rubber meets the road is when we walk into Publix or Hitchcock's grocery store or church, and someone says, "I want to talk to you about this garbage pickup," or "I want to talk to you about the pothole in the road." That's what we deal with, and we're fine to deal. We signed up for this. We ran for this knowing that was going to be the thing. But truly an honor to serve the citizens of the county. It's an honor for you to be our congressman, and we look forward to a great relationship. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Harvey. We're going to move on with the agenda at this time, and we're going to move into public comment on miscellaneous items. This portion of the agenda is designed to allow citizens the opportunity to bring matters to the attention of the board. It is not reasonable to expect that the board will engage in debate or deliberation about matters on which the board has received no prior information. Please hold your comments to 3 minutes. Comment cards are in the back of the room. Please give them to Ashley, my left, your right. Nathaniel, oh, Nate. I didn't know who the hell that was, Nate. You need to just put, or Nat, excuse me, you need to just put Nat on here instead of Nathaniel Gill. I didn't know what.
That's exactly
yeah, no kidding.
Right.
Sometimes that's good, sometimes not so good.
Okay, so this will be quick. Nathaniel Gill, 105 Shady Oak Lane. I need to do all that. But I'm here again to represent our union and to represent the county. I'm the president of the local firefighters union, Putnam Fire Rescue, and we are doing a fundraiser this Friday. I know it's been out and about. We're hitting the radio station. We're hitting the news channels. We're hitting everywhere we can, trying to raise some support for this young man. Nathan Scott, 5-year-old, burned Christmas Eve. 75, 80% of his body. Speaking with his mother recently, within the last 2 weeks, he's come off the ventilator. He's at a burn center in Texas.
And the prognosis for him as well seems like he's going to do just fine, but not without a long road to recovery. And so when I stepped into the union presidency about a year ago, just kind of had a focus to start to change some things. We wanted to change our relationship with management. We wanted to change our relationship with the community. I specifically, I'm on a focus of doing what's right, getting our union to look at doing what's right, getting our union management relationships to be what's right. And then in situations like this where you have the opportunity and the platform to do something good for people that need it, why wouldn't you? And when good people have the opportunity to do it, you should take it. And so we've stepped into this partnership with this family, this young mother, and they have 4 other siblings. And they're in a bad way. They need our help financially. They need our help as the future runs on for this life of this child, the challenges he has ahead of him, and we're standing in that gap for him. So we did a boot drive, raised a tremendous amount of money for them with that. We're super proud of our community coming on board with us and helping us out with that. And then now through the generosity of Hitchcock's and our Commissioner Harvey doing the cooking and several others and staff that are going to provide cooking and help for it this Friday on the 17th, we're doing a large fundraiser. We've bought some very large raffle items that we're excited about, $5 a ticket for the raffle items, and going to be doing a $1,600 trigger grill, turkey hunter setup from Putnam Feed, a gun raffle, all kinds of stuff. It's all on our website, and I would just encourage anybody that has the opportunity to do this, any business leaders, any business owners that would like to get involved with this. We are a 501c3. 100% of the profits are going to this child and his family, and we're really hoping to make a difference. We really should. When you have an opportunity, you should. So we thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate all the help. It's this Friday, the 17th. It'll be right here in the grass lot in front of the Board of County Commissioners. Again, I appreciate that as well. It's getting us some good exposure and help us make a difference in this kid's life. So we should be impacting the community both on a political level, and I just feel on an emotional level, on a spiritual level, on a helpful level, anywhere we can, we should be making an impact for the better good of our citizens. So we appreciate it. Thank you much. That's all I had, sir.
We also appreciate it. We appreciate, living in a small community. It makes me even prouder of our first responders that they'll go to this level for a family in need like this. So, yeah, big kudos to you and your fellow firefighters.
It's been really neat to see, honestly, when I stepped in as the president of the union, we were kind of a splintered faction. There's a lot of stuff going on that just kind of need to be mended and fixed. And I'm slowly along the way, I feel like we're gaining some ground with that. And the number one deal that I keep telling the people that I serve as their president is the minute the community sees that we're valued, then we are valued. Until then, we're nobody. We're firefighters that get paid a wage, come to work and put out fires and take people to the hospital. But when we're valuable to the community, when they see that we're willing to stand on our tree corner in the sun all day long with a boot and a sign, for not us, that money didn't come into our union. It's not sitting in our account. It's for this family. And then all the work and effort and preparation that we're doing for this fundraiser, the community needs to see that they matter to us more so than on a level of receiving a paycheck and driving to the hospital or putting out their shed fire or whatever. They matter to us.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think you did a great job following the congressman, honestly. Actually, you brought me to tears, and you didn't, sir, so, But, one thing you hit on, this is the best community in I've never lived anywhere else but here. But there's not a weekend. There's not an event that we're not raising money or helping somebody in this community. We're not split apart like a bunch of areas are. We might have differences of opinion, but at the end of the day, we come together to help our people out and help everybody else out that needs it. And I'm just blessed to have a God-given ability. I've never cooked 2,500 wings. We're going to see if God gives me that ability on this coming Friday, but I'm praying He does. So I'm a little nervous, but we'll get through. We'll do the best we can, and we'll provide a good meal. So thank you for all your.
I will say our raffle numbers aren't quite what I expected. So just a shameless plug: if you are going to be putting in on the raffle, your chances of winning are a lot better than what I expected they'd be. So get in on the raffle. They're cheap. A lot of really great items, and every bit of it goes to the family. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
You bring something with you today? Nat, did you bring something with you today?
I don't have any, but I can actually get some, and then.
How are you gonna sell any if you don't have any in your pocket?
Nat,
Yeah,
the answer is yes.
I've actually made a note of all that.
Make a call right now. Make a call.
I'll get some up here though, but we do. They're all over the county. There's raffle tickets raffle tickets online. You can get them off of our Facebook page, and then we also have forms that are a lot of the businesses that have little scan items. That we're doing a platform called Zeffy, so you can scan that raffle item with your phone. It comes out of your account.
Yeah, you need to bring me some raffle tickets.
I'll get you some.
Not one of those app things.
Nat, you got to remember what the old farmer said, you can't sell out of an empty cart, so.
Okay. Is there anybody else today that would like to speak under public comment? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment portion of the meeting and ask Administrator Suggs if he would like to make any short comments.
Well done, sir. Just a couple. Matt, thank you. Really, I do remember that evening quite well, and proud for the relationship we've shared for almost a decade now. So that was very nice. Thank you again, Commissioners, for this morning. That was extremely pleasant, and I really appreciate the recognition, and I appreciated everybody that was here today. Happy Valentine's Day to my wife who sat through this meeting today. I do want to touch base just real quick, follow up on Commissioner Harvey. We did just get back from D.C. First meeting was with Congressman Waltz's office. And so, the team that went up there had a great visit, a great 3 days up there. Met with a lot of folks pushing our projects, our 2 Army Corps projects, our environmental water project, as well as our barge port project. So any continued support, we certainly would appreciate that. And just know that your staff did you well up there in D.C. this year, good representation and communication about Putnam County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Suggs. Mr. Commando, would you like to add anything today, sir? No, sir, you don't. Okay, so basically we'll have the meeting at 8:30, open the meeting, then recess, go into executive session, and then come back into the meeting, is how it would handle. Okay. No, not an issue. Everybody catch that for sure? Okay. Next meeting's gonna be at 8:30 in the morning. Okay, start at 8:30 in the morning. Okay, Commissioner comments, we'll start with Commissioner Adams Act.
Yeah, I guess since we have the congressman here, I just want to thank you for coming here today. I had the pleasure of meeting you at an RPOF meeting a couple quarters ago. I was clean shaven, had a much shorter haircut. As a veteran, I really appreciate what you do for veterans. At that day, you gave out some little coins, I believe it was, and I got one. I had the pleasure of actually giving that out to a World War II vet that goes to my church, and his family's gonna give it back to me someday, and hopefully that's a decade from now. So I really appreciate what you do for veterans. Appreciate you being here. I think you're absolutely right to fill Kat Kamick's shoes as far as her energy level and the way that she gets out and about is going to be a tough shoes to fill. One thing I might ask is, and I don't know if that plan is to establish some hours in the county for someone from staff that people can come make appointments. That would be fantastic if we did that. And just again, I appreciate everything you're doing, especially for the veterans. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams Act. For those comments, Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, come to my attention on February 27th, Chili's is going to be doing a fundraiser that day for the Patriot Guard riders in Florida. So if you feel like you need to eat at Chili's, and 15% of the proceeds are going to go to them. I do want to say, I want to give a little shout about a political rally that was held here during the campaign. And a lady was given some very bad information from a candidate for office. I was able to be in the room. I called the person over. I said, that's not the correct information that we can do. Mr. Suggs and I intercepted the next day. We met with a lady named Mrs. Keys over at the old Jenkins School. The candidate said, we don't have the money, we can't do that, and truly that was not right. What had happened, there's a drainage pipe, and there was a wooden sidewalk over that. Well, Public Works jumped right on that. Mr. Suggs did, and that was part of the safe route to schools, if you remember. So the plan was it was already in the works. That's been done. The sidewalk is poured over that drainage area, And it might sound like a little bit, but Congressman, this is what we talked about. This is what we deal with at our level. These kids were having to walk around that wooden sidewalk into the road back to the concrete. And Mr. Suggs saw that and said, fix it right now. We can do this. And that's how things get done at our level. And it was really good that Public Works jumped right on there. Mrs. Key is so excited about it. She actually wants it named after her, but I said, no, we're not going to do that. But that was just kind of a joke. But, you know, it's nice to see at our level when you get those things done. And, you know, I hate to say it, but sometimes we ride down the road and we see that dead possum laying there. And it's been laying there for years and nobody's ever messed with it, so no big deal. But until somebody brings it to our attention, and I say this on the radio every time I get a chance, you know your area. If we don't hear from you, we don't know it. Let us know what we can do to help you, and that's the bottom line there. And then, last but not least, today's a special day for my wife and I. I don't know why my wife took a chance in marrying a 23-year-old punk. Looking back in pictures, you look at that and go, God, I thought I knew everything, and I didn't know anything. But 38 years ago, my wife took a chance on me. She had 2 children, 2 small girls, and then we had, a year later, our youngest one, so 3 daughters. She took a chance on me, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful ride. We've been blessed by God and our family, and now we're into the great-grandchildren phase. So it's really fun to watch how our life has gone. I've had a successful career in the grocery business and the insurance business, and now being the county commissioner at my level, and it's just been a nice. So, Linda, if you're watching, happy anniversary, 38 years, and I'll be home later today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Harvey. Commissioner Pickens.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Turner. I'd like to start by welcoming, as the rest of the commissioners did with Congressman Waltz. I look forward to meeting you hopefully in just a few minutes. And thank you for your service in the military to our country and what you're also doing in your elected capacity. And welcome to Putnam County. I do want to say that Administrator Suggs, congratulations on your 25 years of service, and especially the 5 years of service, is it? Almost 6 years of service to Putnam County, and it doesn't take me long to remember back 4 commissioners sitting up here making the decision of to decide who was going to be our next county administrator. One of our commissioners at the time had become ill and resigned, and we had not had an appointment from the governor at that time. So I remember sitting here and I said, this is a pretty serious deal, this vote that I have. All of them are serious, but this one's really serious. And you see how it turned out. And I think it has worked well for Putnam County. We've had our challenges from different hurricanes to COVID to the economy, retaining employees. And you have been a great leader through this whole time. And the staff that you have surrounded yourself with, I think is second to none. And I just want to thank you for what you've done for Putnam County. I wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. Larry, I think, some women, they finally just wear down and they feel sorry for us. And then they decide to break down and have a weak moment and decide to marry us. Okay, so I want to wish my lovely wife, Holly, 34 years, happy anniversary. I do not have to take her out to dinner because before it was usually she was coaching basketball or volleyball or something, but now she's a school board member, so they have a school board meeting this afternoon, so I don't have to take her out to dinner. And Administrator Suggs, I just have to ask this. There was a pretty popular song back in the 60s, and I think it was by Bobby Sherman, and it was, Julie, Julie, do you love me? Do you get up on Valentine's Day and sing that to your lovely wife, Julie? I just want to
know. But yes, sir, I do know that song, and I have sung it, yes.
Okay. All right.
You hear him, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pickens. Commissioner Wilkinson.
Thank you, Congressman, for being here today, and thank you for your service. But most of all, thank you for your attitude that you bring to Putnam County as far as being a down-to-earth person that people can talk to. and having your staff available for our district. That's very important, and I appreciate that so much. I wanted to mention that we had received some money for broadband, certainly from the federal level down through the state level. It doesn't come directly to Putnam County. It goes to the service providers, but we did receive over $5 million, and so that's a big deal for this county, and it's going to put fiber in the ground. I'm surprised Larry didn't mention it, but I hope I didn't take your thunder. But you got to go first. But anyway, so that's a big deal, and we're glad to be able to start getting that fiber out hopefully pretty soon. And there's more things coming with broadband, but that's the first round of it. And then second, I just wanted to ask about the animal control. Where are we at on that? That's something that's near and dear to my heart. Where are we at on that facility? I'd like to get an update.
Yeah, we had our last meeting to begin negotiations, and the firm is working with their designers to try to bring us back some conceptual designs that meet what we need in the facility as well as our budget. And we are waiting on them their engineers and designers to be ready to present that information to us.
So we're getting there.
Yes, ma'am. Progress.
All right, progress. Okay. That was all my comments, other than Eugene and I have been married 35 years, and instead of buying candy and roses this year, we went and got a new mattress. A 360. We spent a lot of money and got a sleep number, so that's when you know you're old.
Unfortunately, I've had one of them for years, so that means I've been old for years. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Wilkinson. I don't know whether I wanted you to say anything or not, if you want to know the truth. Between you and Gator, y'all giving me a hard time today.
No. Commissioner Wilkinson, that brought to mind when Linda and I first got married, and some of you in the room will understand what I'm fixing to say. You know how you go, well, back when I was so poor, remember those comments that we made? You know, we slept in a bed that if you moved too much, the spring would cut you. So you taped it down with duct tape, you know, until you could afford to buy one. So I understand that comment.
Good thing you could afford duct tape. I want to take just a minute here to also again thank Congressman for coming and seeing us today, but I want to talk just a little bit about a couple of things. Number one is our Public Works Department right now is being worked on very hard by the employees at Public Works and by our new Deputy Administrator of Operations. And as anybody that's ever had anything to do with the government knows that it's frustratingly slow, but he is making some progress over there, and he's only been in that project a few weeks. So JR, kudos to you. I see you working hard at it. I really do. And I just wanted you to know that I see it, that it's happening. And some days you may not think, oh, so when I call up all excited because somebody's ditch didn't get dug that day when they told me it was going to get dug. But I just want you to know that we appreciate you, buddy, and we see your efforts that you're making on behalf of the county. And I got a lot of confidence in you. Also, this is the 6th year of Mr. Suggs' 6-year contract. He had a 3-year contract with a 3-year rollover. Unless the board's going to slap my hand or be upset, I'm going to negotiate a new contract and bring it back to the board for their approval after he and I have a chance to sit down and talk about it. So unless somebody has a problem with that, we're going to start on that venture in the not too distant future. So, I felt the same, but yes, sir, thank you for that. Also, before Congressman leaves, Congressman, I'd like to give you one of our Putnam County lapel pins that you could put on your lapel whenever you want people to know that you actually know us people down here in God's country. And I'm going to give you one for Ernie, too. I'm going to walk around from him. just stay right down there if you'd like to. Is there any more business to come before the board today? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.